Welcome back to the Kaizen Academy. Today, we are diving into a Japanese principle that is going to completely change how you look at quality. It's this core idea from the world of continuous improvement that aims to make errors, well, literally impossible. And it's called POKA YOKE.
Seriously, just pause and think about that for a second. What if the processes you use every day, the systems you've built, made it physically impossible to mess up? Now, this isn't some sci-fi fantasy. It's a real, powerful concept that's right at the heart of the Toyota production system, and it challenges one of the most common and honestly wasteful activities in any business: inspection.
And this quote from the Toyota Production System Handbook, wow, it just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? For decades, the standard way to handle quality was to inspect it. You make a bunch of stuff, and then somebody at the end of the line checks it all to sort the good from the bad. But this quote forces us to ask a much smarter question. Why were there bad ones to begin with? Okay, so to really get why this new approach is so powerful, we have to tear down the old one. Let's take a look at why just relying on inspection is, a fundamentally broken strategy.
Here's the absolute truth of it. Inspection adds zero value for your customer. Zip. Nada. All it does is confirm whether value was created correctly after the work is already done. The damage, the wasted time, the materials, the cost, it's already baked in. Inspection is just the messenger that brings you the bad news, and it's an expensive one at that.
And that bad news comes with a pretty hefty price tag. As the TPS handbook points out, every single defect that inspection catches sets off this whole chain reaction of waste. You've got rework, or even worse, you just have to scrap the whole thing. You've wasted materials, you've wasted labor, you've wasted time. Your costs shoot up, deliveries get delayed. It's all just pure 100% waste. So once you see inspection as a total waste, it leads to this huge shift in thinking. It's a total paradigm shift. We have to get away from just detecting problems and move toward preventing them from ever even happening. And this comparison just lays it all out. You're moving from being reactive, like a firefighter constantly putting out fires, to being proactive, like an architect designing a fireproof building. Instead of trying to get quality by inspection, you build quality by design. You literally engineer your work so that the right way is the easy way, and sometimes the only way. So how do we actually do that? How do we build this prevention mindset into our day-to-day work? Well, Toyota gives us this incredible pillar for the whole philosophy, and it's a concept called judoka. The word judoka itself tells a really cool story. It comes from the Japanese word for automation. But Toyota did something brilliant. They added a human element right into the written character. And that created a brand new concept: automation with human intelligence. It's all about building machines and processes that can make smart decisions and, this is the key part, stop themselves the very second a problem pops up. And judoka really has two main parts. First, you build quality in right at the source. The process itself is smart enough to stop if something goes wrong, which prevents one tiny defect from turning into a mountain of them. And second, this separates people from machines. It frees them up from that soul-crushing, non-value-added task of just watching a machine run. Think about how brilliant that is. Even if it feels backward at first, it is so much better to stop all production to fix one problem right now than to just keep going and knowingly produce a bunch of junk. Okay, so judoka gives us the philosophy, right? Build quality in from the very source. Now, let's get practical. Let's look at the actual tool we use to make this happen, the hands-on application of designing mistakes right out of the system.
And that brings us right back to where we started: POKA YOKE. Mistake proofing. The ultimate goal here is to design a process so well that the correct action is the only action you can possibly take. A perfect everyday example? A USB cable. You can only plug it in one way. That is POKA YOKE in action. It's that simple. So how do we make this stuff a reality in our work? Well, mistake proofing isn't some idea floating out there on its own. It's actually part of a bigger engineering philosophy called Design for X. As the Lean Handbook points out, when you design a product, you should be designing for assembly, for cost, for ease of use. But mistake proofing the design and the process itself, that has to be a core principle baked in from the very, very beginning.
All right, let's bring it all home. What's the main takeaway for us, the Kaizen Academy community? How do we take these really powerful ideas and actually start using them? It really boils down to these 4 key actions. First, and this is a big one, stop relying on inspection. See it for what it is: pure waste. Second, you've got to shift your whole mindset from finding defects to preventing them. Third, embrace judoka. Give your processes the smarts to stop when there's a problem. And finally, make POKA YOKE, mistake-proofing, a central part of how you design everything you do.
Look, this is a huge paradigm shift, moving from just catching mistakes to making them completely impossible. To keep exploring these core lean principles and building up your own continuous improvement toolkit, make sure you're subscribed to the Kaizen Academy for more deep dives just like this one. So, I'll leave you with a challenge. Think about your own work, what you're doing right now. What is that one frustrating recurring error that you could just design out of the system for good? What's one process you could error-proof, starting today? Thanks for watching.